Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon TCG video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a deck that utilizes the Team Magma's Groudon EX. With its Power Saver ability, it's a downright awful Pokemon, I'm sorry to say, and I have played quite a few games with it. Doesn't really seem to be all that feasible of a Pokemon. In fact, for the vast majority of cases, we're going to see the Landorus and the Bat line that we are running as sort of the superstars of our deck. But when the Team Magma's Groudon EX does ultimately get going, he's an absolutely devastating Pokemon. So the Magma Quick attack allows us to hit for 80 damage initially, but if we happen to have any of our opponent's Pokemon have any damage counters on them, then it's able to hit for a massive 160 damage. We have some strong energies that we are running in our deck, so that's usually going to be more than enough, especially given the fact that our opponent's Pokemon are, of course, going to start off with some damage counters on them for the Magma Quake to even be effective. So usually it can knock out the vast majority of EX Pokemon we will be coming across with a single attack. So we are running 3 copies of the Team Magma's Groudon EX. The Landorus, we're going to be running the basic one from the Phantom Forces set. With its Shout of Power attack, we are able to retrieve any discarded fighting energy cards and then latch them on to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. Just a very nice Pokemon. We really need that energy acceleration, otherwise the deck is just not feasible by any means. So we are running 2 copies of the Landorus in our deck, and the last Pokemon that we're running in our deck, guys, is going to be the Bat line, with the Crobat being sort of the main star. Surprise Bite allows us to stack 3 damage counters on any one of our opponent's Pokemon. So very nice ability. You guys would be very impressed by just how helpful it can really be with respects to our deck. So very important. We are running 3 copies of him. We're also going to be running 3 copies of the Golbat with the Sneaky Bite attack. Slightly less potent than the Crobat's ability. I mean, this only allows us to stack 2 damage counters on any one of our opponent's Pokemon. Again, though very useful. We do want to be able to go through that entire evolution line. So we don't really need any rare candies, which is something I really like about the entire Crobat line. And the very last Pokemon that we are running is going to be 3 copies of the Zubat. We're running a very specific one from the Plasma Storm set, the one with the Free Flight ability, just allowing us to retreat if this Pokemon has no energy cards attached to it. So one thing I do want you guys to keep in mind though, guys, we are ultimately running 4 copies of the Silent Lab just to shut down our Team Magma's Groudon EX's awful ability. And the other thing, of course, is that this would simultaneously shut down our Zubat's special ability. Now, this would mean that we're no longer able to retreat fully, so just something to keep in mind. We don't want to use this and then forget that we're not able to retreat, because I mean that would cost us an unnecessary prize card. So we are running 4 copies of the Silent Lab in our deck. So with that, let's go and take a look at some of the other item cards in our deck. So we are running a single copy of the Computer Search as our ace spec. It seems to work quite nicely in this deck just because it ultimately allows us to accelerate our entire strategy and get what we want nice and early. Again, our deck requires a tremendous amount of setup. Computer Search is there to make life just a little bit easier for us, so we are running it as our ace-spec card. We're also going to be running 4 copies of a somewhat unusual trainer card. So this is the Super Scoop Up. Works extremely well in combination with the whole Bat line. So we're going to use the Super Scoop Up to be able to recycle our bats and then stack those damage counters all over again. Alternatively, it could be used to heal or pretty much retrieve a very badly damaged Team Magma's Groudon EX or one of our Landoruses. So just a very nice card. We are running 4 copies of it in our deck. We're running 2 Switch type cards, one of them being the Switch and the Escape Rope. Doesn't really need any explaining. You guys know the function of that card. We're running a single copy of the Starling Megaphone in our deck as well. You guys know the basic premise of this card. This is pretty much to allow us to deal with that Garbodor with the Garbotoxin ability mainly. I mean, could also be useful for just getting rid of muscle bands, things like that, attached to our opponent's Pokemon. So we're running a single copy of this in our deck. Should be more than enough for the most part. We're also going to be running a whole ton of other cards that you guys are quite familiar with. So we are running 2 copies of the Ultra Ball, 3 copies of the VS Seeker, a single copy of the Colress, 2 Corinas, 2 Lysanders, 1 Lysander Storm card, 4 copies of the and 4 copies of the Juniper, 3 copies of the Rocky Helmet. Again, this is just to allow us to be able to stack some damage counters on our opponent's Pokemon if any of their Pokemon were to attack any of ours. So just nice, sort of gives us a guarantee that we are able to have some damage counters on our opponent's Pokemon, especially if we're not really able to get our entire Bat line. And then we're ultimately running a total of 12 energy cards, 4 of them being the Strong Energy and 8 of them being the Fighting Energy. So with that, guys, I'm actually gonna go and find ourselves an opponent. And while we are looking for an opponent, I want to discuss why I did not include any double Magma energies. Initially, I had included 2 to 3 double magma energies, but it just happened to turn out so poorly. I mean, the double energies just were not coming at the times that we needed them. The fighting energy has been much more consistent, just with us being able to discard it, and then the Landorus simultaneously being able to grab it out from our discard pile. So that's why I ultimately decided against it. I mean, it just was not helpful by any means for the most part, and of course it was absolutely useless in case unless the Team Magma's Groudon EX ultimately had a total of 2 energy cards already attached to it. So that's why, again guys, I decided against it. I feel like you guys would agree with me for the most part, but if you guys ultimately do somewhat disagree, I highly encourage you guys to test it out and just come. I mean, I feel like a lot of you guys would ultimately come to the same conclusion as me. So we have just started the game, so I'm going to go and bring out the Team Magma's Groudon EX, attach the Rocky Helmeted, and then end our turn. Sorry, I mean, I had already done that, but just in case you guys were sort of paying attention more so to what I was saying. Okay, so the opponent is going to bring out the Scorched Earth. That's actually a nice card. We can take advantage of it as well by discarding our fighting energy cards, and then that will allow us to be able to draw onto 2 prize cards. So I'm thinking the opponent is probably going to be using some sort of blacksmith strategy. Maybe the Team Magma's the Team Magma's Camerupt as well, just to be able to retrieve those energy cards in combination with the energy switch, something like that. Again, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm thinking that our opponent's main sort of attacker is probably going to be the Reshiram, potentially the Camerupt EX as well. Speaking of Camerupt EX, I do have a very interesting Camerupt EX deck that I will be showcasing to you guys shortly. I think a lot of you guys would appreciate it for what it is, but let's go and attach a fighting energy to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. Now, I'm a little bit worried that we may be taking a whole lot of damage, and I don't want those energy cards that we are attaching to our Team Magma's Groudon EX go to waste, so I'm going to go and use the Escape Rope. Hopefully our opponent's Reshiram is unable to attack right now, so let's go and end our turn. Not going to get rid of that Scorched Earth just yet, because of course that would prevent the free flight ability from working if I do ultimately lay down the Silent Lab, and I do want to be able to take advantage of it as well in case we can. So the Blacksmith is going to come out. I'm thinking our Zubat is probably going to get knocked out through the usage of the Blue Flare attack, of course unless our opponent has the Muscle Band. And okay, so it looks like he is going to go and use the Blue Flare attack, knock out our Zubat, and then draw onto one of his prize cards. Awesome, looks like we are going to be able to look to get the N, so I'm going to go and lay down the Silent Lab now and use the N for some new cards in our hand. Okay, so now I have another strong energy. My goodness, all of them seem to be stacked onto our Team Magma's Groudon EX. And unfortunately with that, guys, I am going to have to end our turn. I'm probably going to be using the Juniper on our next turn. Team Magma's Groudon EX may unfortunately be getting knocked out prematurely as well, hoping that our opponent does not have another Blacksmith, just because of course then that Reshiram would be able to hit us for a tremendous amount of damage. Don't want our Team Magma's Groudon EX to be getting knocked out before we've really even been able to use him. So another Fire Energy card goes into our opponent's discard pile, and he uses the VS Secret and the Blacksmith as well, attaching 2 Fire Energy cards to, of course, the active Reshiram, able to hit us for 120 damage. Fortunately, that's going to dish out a massive amount of damage to us, and things are not looking all that good for us. I'm going to go and use the Scorched Earth, guys, because I can always use the computer search as well, just in case I want to look for another fighting energy card. Okay, so we do have the Landorus, but I mean, the Team Magma's Groudon EX, I'm not sure if I'd like to return it to our hand. I think I'm just gonna go and knock out that Reshiram. So let's go and lay a fighting energy card to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. Let's use the computer search to bring out the Silent Lab, of course, to enable our Team Magma's Groudon EX to be able to attack. And then I'm gonna go and use the Juniper to get some new cards in our hand. Just checking how many more Silent Labs we do have in our deck. Okay, so we have one more Silent Lab, so we should be pretty good to go. And then we can always use that Lysander's trump card in case we need to use a couple more. So let's go and use the Juniper. And okay, so we're gonna go and lay down one of our Zubats and another one of our Team Magma Groudon EXs. Not gonna be using the Super Scoop Up. We'll be knocking out a Reshiram, hitting it for a whole ton of damage, a massive 220 damage. That would have been enough to knock out the vast majority of EX Pokemon in the game, including a couple of primals and, sorry, not a couple of primals, but a couple of Mega EX Pokemon as well. So if the opponent does not have another Blacksmith, then the Team Magma's Groudon EX should be able to survive an attack. Okay, so it looks like the VS Seeker is going to be used for another Blacksmith. Those Reshiram's just hitting us for a whole ton of damage repeatedly, but that's okay. I mean, we'll finally be able to bring out our Landorus, and then we can really use an energy acceleration mechanism of our own as well. So I don't think we should be too troubled, even though the opponent does seem to have the advantage at the moment. So let's go and bring out the Landorus, and then we should be able to accelerate some energy attachments to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. I think I'm gonna go and use the the Scorched Earth. Hopefully we are able to draw onto another one of our energy cards, and it looks like we're not going to be able to draw onto an energy card. Okay, so I'm gonna go and attach the Araki helmet to our Team Magma's Groudon EX just so he doesn't get head ringered or anything like that. And I think I'm gonna go and use the Sterling Megaphone as well and the N to get some new cards in our hand. Hoping for an energy card, guys. Awesome, looks like we are going to get one, so let's go and attach it to our Landorus. Stack some damage counters on our opponent's Reshiram, and then hit him for 20 damage and retrieve an energy card to attach to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. Again, I'm really disliking the fact that Team Magma's Groudon EX just requires so many energy cards to really be able to attack, and the worst part is that it does not have the same ability as the Primal Kyogre EX, so that means that he's very easily able to get Lysandered out. Okay, so another Blacksmith. My goodness, our opponent is running probably 4 VS Seekers, and probably a couple more Blacksmiths in his deck as well. So those Reshirams are already hitting us for a whole ton of damage repeatedly. But let's go and bring out the Golbat for the time being. We'll be using the N to lower the number of cards in our opponent's hand and to get a couple new ones in ours as well. So, okay, so we do have another Scorched Earth. But, I mean, how many of our fighting energies do we have in our discard pile? Yeah, I'm actually going to go and use it. Hopefully that is the sort of way to go. So, let's go right ahead. It's not registering my clicks for some reason, guys. Okay, finally, after repeatedly clicking it like 10 times. Okay, so we do have the Landorus in our hand. We'll be laying him down. And I mean, man, maybe I don't know, guys. I'm thinking that I'd like to save the Super Scoop Up for later. I mean, our opponents could potentially knock out one of our Pokemon in a single attack, but I don't think that's most likely going to happen. So let's go and bring on the Landorus for now. Should be able to withstand at least one attack. And unfortunately, again, we do have to end our turn. Another Reshiram is going to come out into the bench, and the opponent is going to use the Charon. If he has another Fire Energy card, that Outrage can hit us for a total of 80 damage. Enough, though, thankfully, for our Landorus to be able to survive. So a Litleo we see coming out as well. We don't have a whole ton of evolution type Pokemon. 100 damage. Looks like I was a little bit off with my math. So, alright, let's see what we would like to do. The Colress, Juniper. I think Juniper would be the way to go. So I'm gonna go and use the Super Scoop Up first, hoping for the heads, and we are going to get the tails. Let's go and use the VS Seeker and see if there's anything else I'd like to grab. No, unfortunately, I think Juniper is the sort of route that I want to take. I do have one in our hand as well, so did not really need to use that VS Seeker, but let's go and use the Juniper. And okay, so we do have a strong energy, and that can of course then allow our Team Magma's Groudon EX to retrieve some energy cards as well. 40 damage. Okay, so we can actually get rid of our opponent's Reshiram in this turn. So let's go and use it to discard the Lysander's trump card and the Ultra Ball from our hand. Look for the Crobat, and then we can go and knock out our opponent's Landorus and then draw onto our second prize card. Hopefully we can still make some sort of a comeback. So let's go and attach that to our Landorus, and I don't think the Rocky Helmet is going to be all that useful. So let's go knock out our opponent's Reshiram, retrieve a fighting energy card, latch it onto our Team Magma's Groudon EX, and draw onto our prize card. We should still have one more VS Seeker in our deck, so the Lysander's trump card can still be used, which I think would probably be, probably may come in handy sometime into the game. Okay, so it looks like our opponent is actually going to use the Lysander's trump card. I mean, he has absolutely no cards in his hand as well, so this may just be the sort of time for us to take initiative and start making a bit of a comeback. Of course, the opponent is unfortunately going to have to end this turn. He still has the advantage on us, though, with a mere 2 prize cards remaining, so a Lysander would potentially be pretty bad on our Team Magma's Groudon EX. We'll be using the Scorched Earth. We'll be able to retrieve that fighting energy card anyway. So let's go and attach that to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. Awesome, it is almost loaded up and ready to go. So I will be bringing out the Silent Lab, preventing our opponent from being able to freely discard his fire energies. Use the Juniper for some new cards in our hand. And I mean, I could use the Super Scoop Up, but I don't think our opponent's Reshiram is going to be able to attack just yet. So let's go and use the Shout of Power attack and attach a fighting energy to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. So it's finally able to attack. But I mean, for now, we could just repeatedly pound our opponent's Reshiram, but I'd like to use the Super Scoop Up and bring that Landers back into our hand. Okay, so we are going to flip the tails. Let's go and use Super Scoop Up one more time. 2 tails in a row. Looks like the game does not like us all that much. So I'm going to go and use the Ultra Ball to discard the fighting energy from our hand and the escape rope as well to look for another one of our bats. So this time we're going to bring out the Golbat, slowly stack some damage counters on our opponent's Pyro. So let's go and bring out the Golbat and put 2 damage counters on him. The Crobat's going to be the only Pokemon that we'll really be able to use to knock out our opponent's Pyro. So let's go and attach the the strong energy to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. Use the Shout of Power attack and look for a fighting energy card to attach to our Crobat this time around. So, okay, so we should be able to win still, even though our opponent was able to take a massive initiative early on into the game. Looks like we are potentially going to be able to make a comeback. So the Tierno is going to get used. Again, that Reshiram is not really able to attack just yet. Opponent's going to bring out a Scorched Earth. Luckily, I decided to keep one in our hand, so I'm going to go and bring it out, use the N for some new cards in our hand. Okay, I think I'm going to go and lay down the Landers for now. We're only able to hit for 40 damage again, guys. I think this is the time where I'd like to retreat the Landers and finally bring out the Team Magma's Groudon EX, knock out our opponent's Reshiram, and then draw onto one of our prize cards. Okay, so our opponent is saying that I am cruel for some reason, not really sure what that is all about. But the Team Magma's Groudon EX is finally going to start seeing a little bit of action. Actually, maybe it wasn't the best idea. I'm not really sure because, of course, it has a massive full retreat cost and we're not really able to attack our opponent's Pyro. Of course, I could use the Lysander though to grab out our opponent's Reshiram and then start dishing out some damage to him as well. Again, though, I am thinking that this Crobat is probably going to get used to knock out our opponent's Pyro. So for now, let's go and attach a strong energy to our Team Magma's Groudon EX. Use the Lysander and then hit our opponent's Reshiram for a mere 80 damage. Not a whole ton, but I don't really foresee him as really being able to attack anyways. I mean, the Pyro can't knock out our Crobat in a single attack, so we should be relatively safe. I do think that we would be able to knock it out. So the VS Seeker is going to come out, and the Tierno, of course, is the card that's going to be grabbed. Luckily, our opponent did not have any of his Blacksmiths into the discard pile. Scorched Earth comes out once again. Now, this is going to prevent our Team Magma's Groudon EX from being able to attack. So we'll be using it ourselves to discard the Fighting Energy card from our hand, hoping to get another one of our Silent Labs, guys, because again, we do need it just to be able to attack. So, thinking that our opponent is probably going to end his turn, or potentially end it by attaching a Fire Energy card to his Pyro. Yeah, so another energy card is going to come to our opponent's Pyro. So let's go and first of all use the Scorched Earth, hoping for another one of our Silent Labs. Looks like we are going to be able to get it. Not going to use the N, the Colress is the way to go instead. And okay, so we have another regular fighting energy. We'll be attaching that to our Golbat because he may need to attack our opponent's Pyro a little bit as well. So let's go and knock it out with the Magma Quake attack and then draw onto one of our prize cards. The nice thing is that if our Pyro does decide to attack our Team Magma's Groudon EX, we do have the Rocky Helmet, guys, so that recoil damage is going to hurt our opponent's Pyro a little bit as well. So I think that's nice. Have not actually seen our opponent play a single Lysander in the game thus far. So I don't think our Team Magma's Groudon EX is going to get Lysandered out. I'm really hoping that that's not the case, but it may just happen. Okay, so I can use the Karina. I mean, if I use the Karina, I could use it to look for an Ultra Ball, potentially a Super Scoop Up as well. I think I'm gonna go and see first of all what we have. Okay, so we only have the. Actually, no, we should have the another one of our Crobats in our deck as well. Okay, so we do have one. So let's go and grab onto the the Team Groudon EX for now, and the Ultra Ball, or would I like to go the Super Scoop Up route? I'm actually gonna go for the Super Scoop Up route, guys, because I'm going to use it to try and heal that Team Magma's Groudon EX by bringing it back into our hand. So let's see, and awesome, we're going to get the head. So now there's no chance of our opponent simply being able to Lysander it out. So let's go and bring out the Crobat, attach the Rocky helmet to him, and then bring out one of our Team Magma's Groudon EXs into our bench. We'll be attaching a Fighting Energy to our Team Magma's Groudon EX as well, using the Skill Dive and hitting our opponent Pyro for 30 damage. If our opponent does attack, then we should be... Okay, so a bench Pokemon is going to come out, so it looks like we're not going to be able to win just yet. Blacksmith is going to come out, and that Pyro will be able to hit us for a massive 110 damage. Again, though, 20 HP short from being able to knock out our Crobat, so that is quite nice, and the Pyro has a mere 20 HP remaining. Gonna use the VS Seeker one more time to look for the Karina, and this time we'll be looking for the Ultra Ball, discarding 2 of our Fire Energy cards into our discard pile, guys, and then bringing out the Golbat back into the field. So yeah, looks like I am going to be able to win this turn. So we'll be saying GG to our opponent, and then using the Ultra Ball to discard the Team Magma's Groudon EX and a Fighting Energy. Doesn't really matter because, of course, we should be able to win. Yeah, so we are able to win. Just making sure, guys. So let's go knock out our opponent's Pyro, draw into one of our prize cards, retreat that Crobat, bring out our Team Magma's Groudon EX, and hit for a massive final attack, hitting for 140 damage. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I'm not entirely convinced that the Team Magma's Groudon EX is all that great of a Pokemon, but again, thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.